Welcome to the Luc and Jake Movie Podcast.
Remember after Guys and Dolls when we stood on the chairs
party.
and did that?
It was me.
No, Bye
you,
Bye Birdie, man. It wasn't Guys and Dolls
because Mike Winnetoy was there.
Yes,
It was me, you, Mike Winnetoy.
Mitch Bibby.
It was magical. The video's still somewhere.
And if we looked back, I think I'd be embarrassed.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
How couldn't we be
because we were at that
by
weird age.
But we didn't care, man.
Because right now, every day, like 3 times a week, I'm with kids around that age.
Yeah.
It's the
drives me
weirdest
nuts.
age in the world. I have a good group of kids,
Between
but they
like
are
13 and 17.
It's just brutal.
It's a weird 4 years.
I don't think any kid is cute after the age of 6.
No, it's kind of like, here's the life cycle. You got like, you're born and you're ugly. When we're born babies, it's like, oh! You look like Benjamin Button.
Cute.
But then babies get chubby.
Cute.
They start saying, like, Tamsin and I went to the TSO. We saw some terrible music.
We saw some 2-year-old play this.
Well, there were 2 things. One, there was a kid dressed fully in a tuxedo as a little conductor, conducting with the music with this big baton, and it was adorable.
Like in the audience.
In the audience.
That's
so cute. I wanted to like sneak my phone around.
Yeah.
It would go viral for sure, but that's creepy. But so then on our way home on the subway, there was this little French girl, 3 years old. I found out because she kept telling everybody. She's French, and the mom was like talking to her, like teaching her like how many people are wearing hats, and she go, 1, 2, 3, 4. It was just the happiest baby. And then you turn 11, and you start experimenting.
11.
I think 11 is where you start getting weird. 11's where you start getting weird.
There's
a 10-year-old kid that's still like, you're 10, you're little, you know. You turn 11. How early do you think it is that it gets weird? You start getting
7.
weird. You think already 7?
Yes.
There's some cute 7-year-olds though.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think every kid some at 7.
Okay.
Some at 7.
And then every kid by
11
is just
becomes this oh, you're not cute anymore, but you're not smart. You can't do anything. You're just a bunch of like, well, I read on the internet that, well, on Twitter, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's going to be the hardest thing. Like when we're parents, with just technology and everything, I don't know how you put a handle on that.
I don't know either.
But I was shocked. Yeah, I work with 29 kids.
Yeah.
And I would say 20 of them don't have Facebook. Their parents won't let them.
Good.
Oh, great.
That's so good.
And I'm talking even like 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like I had Facebook in grade 6.
Yeah, I had it pretty early too.
Yeah.
But then it was different, I guess, even then. Because you're so young, you have a small group of friends.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't have a cell phone until I was 18.
But we're also guys, too.
That's true.
We're not...
Big difference.
No sexual predator is going to go after us, really. Or...
Sure,
maybe...
I'm sure there's at least one who would have been interested in me.
Oh, yeah, the chubby
I believe
chaser.
that. Yeah, there was that guy. He just never found me. Thank goodness. But I have at least a little...
We were such grease balls.
Yeah, really gross.
Yeah.
Like there are a few pictures of us from like birthday parties that it's like, oh no.
Yeah, it's like, who invited those kids? Oh, they invited themselves. Welcome to the Luc and Jake Movie Podcast. Enough about us.
Oh, but I'm Jake.
I'm Luke.
That's the last about us.
Yeah, last about us for today. Welcome to where we talk about movies, discuss about movies, convene about movies, throw in a little TV on the side.
I like doing this so much.
Yeah.
A quick shout out to everyone who's been watching us as we've transitioned to movie and listening. You guys have been great, but we want to hear even more from you.
Yeah.
Email us. You can email us at the Luc and Jake Movie Podcast at gmail.com. Or if you want to talk to us about some of the stuff going on in movie, hellomovie at gmail.com.
Yeah, and if you are listening to this and you're an avid listener on SoundCloud or iTunes, and you don't normally go to YouTube to actually watch us do the podcast, go and check out the new channel Movie. Yeah. I like to think of it, it's like the Luc and Jake Movie Podcast is like a nice little appetizer to the full course dinner.
Yeah.
You want to get all aspects that we're were pumping out, and I love these. I love the videos.
I think they're so good.
And you know why I can say that? Because mostly on Movi, Jake's doing the videos. And so it's not like, oh, because I watch them, I'm like, oh, they're great. I would say if I was like, that one isn't good, they're all great. I love them. Because
really
you have a
enjoying it.
visual aspect to kind of what we do on the podcast, talking about movies, and I think they're done well. So check it out.
We got some really good ones coming.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
Some great ones are coming down through the pipe.
It's going to be good. But speaking of which...
It's like the Wonka factory here. We're the Oompa Loompas.
We're pumping out that chocolate.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Okay.
Speaking of which, this week, I watched Boogie Nights.
Oh, you watched it again.
I watched it
after
again.
King Kong, because John C. Reilly inspired you.
And it's so good.
I can't wait to watch it.
It's so brilliant. The way that it takes this really like bright-eyed, optimistic, childlike look at the porn industry.
Yeah.
And as it transitions from the 70s to the 80s, how it all changed and what happens to these people.
That's so interesting.
And Mark Wahlberg plays this like it's so funny because he's so young and he's the main guy. He plays Dirk Diggler, and he like it's the way he talks. You know, Mom, I'm gonna be something. I got talents you don't even know about, because he has this enormous penis, and that's what the whole movie is about. And it's so like it's hard to say wonderful, because the movie, though it starts really light and bright, it looks at the realities of these people's lives.
Yeah.
But it's because it starts out so light and bright that it carries you through it, and like people like John C. Reilly really make that movie shine. I think it's brilliant. Yeah. So
I love that.
It's so funny, man.
Did you ever see the Oscar song with Jack Black and Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Got Why Comedians, a comedian at the
Oh
Oscars.
yeah!
And my favorite line in that is John C. Reilly gets up on stage and he goes, I was both in Boogie and Talladega Nights. Because it's like, he's like, you can have the best of both worlds, guys.
Yeah.
I love that. Another funny part in that is Will Ferrell. If you haven't seen this, check it out. YouTube them at the Oscars. Will Ferrell and Jack Black are on stage, and John C. Reilly's in the audience and stands up, and Will Ferrell goes, Jack Black, John C. Reilly, and starts laughing. I love it. Okay, what have we been watching?
What else have you? Well, I've got a long list, man.
Okay, we'll go one at a time. I watched Zodiac last night.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about Zodiac on the podcast before. Check out our David Fincher special. Zodiac is... it's a trip. It's amazing.
A similar movie to it that I watched earlier this week, I didn't tell you about it. I watched The Insider. I've been working through Quentin Tarantino's like favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them is Michael Mann's The Insider. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of movie that the halfway point of that movie, similar to the Zodiac, is where like any other conventional director would have said, "Oh yeah, this is where the story ends." It's where there's this climactic moment.
Yeah. And
Zodiac and that in the same way have a midpoint that's very exciting, and then you get pulled through all the repercussions kind of thing, right? Because the last like hour of Zodiac and of The Insider, they're both I think about the same, like 2 hours 40 minutes or something like that. You feel that length because it's trying to put you in the experience of what these people are going through. Insider is Al Pacino and Russell Crowe.
Oh.
About taking on the tobacco industry.
Yeah.
And dude, it's good.
Is it good?
It's real. You would really like it. Because it has that like...
I'm writing it down.
Please do. Because it has that sort of investigative journalist and like courtroom drama.
You know I love my courtroom dramas.
Dude, I'm watching it the whole time. I thought how much you would love it.
Have you seen The Time to Kill?
No!
Oh.
Which would go on my list.
Oh, one of the best courtroom dramas ever. That's like my guilty pleasure. But yeah. I watched a documentary, Cartel Land. Our friend Max, who was on the podcast last time, told me to watch it. Holy. Talk about a real-life Sicario. Like, that movie is not dramatized at all.
It's real.
It's real. It's crazy. Mexico... And you know what? Some of it takes place right on the border. Yeah. And it's about... There's vigilantes now on the border of the states.
Who armed themselves
defending...
Yeah. America.
Kind of... Yeah, like, I'm not going to lie. I'll play devil's advocate here. Yeah. I kind of understand this whole wall idea.
Well, people who live in those places...
For the people there.
They feel like that becomes a peace of mind. The problem is the practicality of the wall actually working.
It's
because there's so many tunnels.
Exactly.
Tunnels are the problem.
But or did you see the video of that Mexican guy, the Mexican TV personality, and he starts laughing hysterically, saying, He forgot about planes.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Well, there was
someone
funny. Broke it down. They were like the vast majority.
Yeah, fly in,
and then just overstay their visas.
Exactly. So
there's like,
yeah.
did he forget about planes?
I love that part.
It's all about just.
But Cartel Land, it's all about this one state in particular within Mexico, highlighting this defense group that rises against the cartel, but it's like twisted into being like it's all corrupt.
Yeah.
Even these defend groups, sooner or later, they start becoming a cartel themselves, and then it's like
I'll definitely watch it someday.
Yeah, it's worth it.
I also, speaking of dark movies, I watched another one of Quentin Tarantino's favorite movies, The Audition.
Oh yeah,
which is a Japanese movie, and oh boy, it's a Japanese horror movie.
So it's not like La La Land.
There's a guy and a girl.
Yeah, okay.
But they don't sing and dance.
Oh, great.
It's famous for a torture scene, so that tells you a lot of what you need to know.
Yes.
It's dark and it's heavy, and you can see why it's one of Tarantino's favorite, because not only it's not just like a torture porn like some movies are, they like Hostel or these kind of movies, like Eli Roth kind of movies. It's not like that. It slowly pulls you into this story where at first it's about this guy who wants to remarry. His wife died when his son was young, but his son is grown up now, and his son's like, get remarried, why not? So he has a friend who runs a movie studio or is an executive and says, well, let's cast a part in a movie who's the ideal person you'd want to be with. And then whoever doesn't get the part, you can be with them. So they audition like this long list of girls, and this one girl stands out to him, and he falls in love with her, and it slowly pulls you into who this person is. And the way that it does it through, like, there's this, like, sort of trippy sequence. There are these tiny little, like, snippet scenes where you don't fully understand what that scene meant, but then they come back to it later, and it fully realizes, like, what that all meant. It's a masterpiece. It's the same director who did 13 Assassins, which is a movie I can't shut up about, because it's how did I put it last time? 13 Assassins makes 300 look like Cabbage Patch Kids. Like, it's so awesome. So yeah, that was rough.
I finished the TV show Broadchurch.
Oh yeah.
Which stars David Tennant, who's amazing. He's actually amazing. And then I don't know her name, but she is one of the most brilliant actresses ever. The girl in The Night Manager, the one that's pregnant. In The Night Manager.
Yeah. She's so good in The Night Manager.
This British. Oh, I gotta get her name. I'll get it later. She is in Broadchurch. She plays a detective. I think she's typecast in a lot of these roles, but because she's so good, and it's like one of those shows that it's another one of my guilty pleasures, a mystery show.
Right.
Child dies within the first 5 minutes, gets brutally murdered, and is left on a beach in this small town, and a detective, David Tennant, is brought in to figure out who did it in the town. And and it's one of those shows that some parts were like, but I was like, I need to finish it. I need to figure out who did this, and then I won't continue watching though. I won't watch the rest of the seasons. I don't really care that much.
I gotcha. Well, a movie we both went to go see over this last week was Kong Skull Island.
We saw Kong Skull Island.
So watch on Movi. We have 3 videos now that are related to Kong Skull Island. The hidden minis and horror films. Our review of Kong Skull Island,
and then the
cast of Skull Island. Best performances.
Their best performances.
You know how hard it is to say Kong Skull Island?
Kong Skull Island.
Kong Skull Island.
And it made good money this weekend, $61 million.
Big weekend.
But interesting that Godzilla made 90. So it's interesting so Godzilla is more of a draw, which I think it's always been. Godzilla, name.
It's bigger, it's scarier.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I'm planning to start the show Legion.
Oh, the X-Men.
The FX one. That's based in the universe. Just because I find I always need a TV show to watch. I always need something that I can put on an episode.
I can't do that anymore, man.
I always need it.
It's too dangerous. Well, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Won't we?
We'll talk about it. Coming up.
Let's just dive in. Is there anything else on your list?
No, I said I need a TV because I knew. I even wrote, I was going to write, didn't write, but I was going to write segue into this because this is a great segue because I said I need a TV show to always watch. Segue into
our main
topic,
which is to binge
or not to binge.
That is the question.
That is the question.
Whether to suffer the slings and arrows of our
outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Aye, that's the
That's
rub.
the rub.
Something like that.
Whenever I sneeze, I sing. So yeah, because I'm always like, a sneeze is a song just trying to get out.
Oh, that's nice.
That's what it is.
That's a great saying. A sneeze is just a song just trying to get out.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, to binge or not to binge?
To binge or not to binge?
Now this topic.
That is the question. Whether this No. All right. So, yes, you were about to say it's inspired.
This is inspired by something that you had read on a great movie blog called
/film.com.
When you think about like how we know what we know about movies, it's not because we're out there doing the research out on the town doing interviews. It's because there are a ton of these great blogs that document what's going on in the world of movies. /film is one of them.
First Showing.
Birth, Movies, Death is a really good one.
I like that one.
So there's a bunch of these great ones. And so on /film they had this article where they had an interview with Josh Wheaton where he was asked about binge watching, and he had some thoughts about it because it's now completely part of our culture.
Yeah, it's actually in the dictionary now. Binge watching.
Really?
To binge watch.
Wow, there you go.
And for those of you who don't know who Joss Whedon is, he created Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He created Firefly, which only had one season, which is a huge cult classic. And then he's responsible for the Avengers.
Which, undoubtedly, without the success of, we would not have what we have today.
Exactly. So he was brought on board to do the Avengers and to piece it all together, and then he did Age of Ultron, and that totally turned him off from doing Marvel movies. So
and hopefully he'll never do one again.
So I don't think he will, because he didn't.
They crushed him with that
he didn't
movie,
do
man.
exactly what he wanted to do on that movie, and you can tell.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in this article, he talked about his own ideas about. He is a firm believer, coming from creating a highly successful show, Buffy, and a huge cult following show. He doesn't believe that binge watching is good for television. He thinks it actually harms the experience of the viewer, of the television viewer, and you don't have enough time to breathe and take in what the TV show is actually trying to set out to do. That being said, he did say if Netflix gave him all the money, he wouldn't care.
He would say, okay, release it however you want.
Yeah, release it however you want.
Yeah.
But
I think it's a really interesting topic because I remember the first time I binge watched anything.
Yes, I do too.
Which, interestingly, wasn't Netflix.
Me neither. I wrote that down too.
It was before that. Probably the first thing I ever binge watched was I was rewatching Lost with my brother.
Yeah.
We watched the entire first season probably in 2 sittings.
Yeah.
And we were like in the computer room, not even comfortable chairs, not on the couch. We were just like, I was like, oh, want to watch the first episode of Lost? And we sat there for hours and hours.
Yeah. And for me, I said my first binge watching experiences were through Blockbuster. So no late fees. Still trying to figure out how that works. Blockbuster announcing no late fees.
Sunk the ship, man.
Yeah, I don't understand. But anyways, it was with the show 24. Kiefer Sutherland 24.
Yeah, you were huge into 24.
That my parents were like, I was like, I've heard of the show, I've heard it's good, so let's go out and at Blockbuster you could rent the discs of the seasons.
Yeah.
So I'd get like 6 discs, and we'd watch the first
3
season,
episodes,
and we watched them in like a day, and my dad was like, let's just get them all.
Yeah.
So he went and got season 2 to 5, and we just watched them all. And like,
I remember your family was so into 24. Not only do you have an unopened Jack Bauer action figure,
I do, yeah.
But also your family changed all their phones to the 24 ringtone.
Yeah. CTU.
See,
counterterrorism unit. Yeah. Those are the Tony Almeida. All of them.
Doesn't it? Don't you feel like you're in your basement?
I know.
You're in your childhood home watching it.
I actually feel sick. Getting anxious.
Because, other things we've been watched is we've done marathons.
Oh, yeah.
Which are very similar.
Yeah.
So you and I have both marathoned Lord of the Rings. We've marathoned the Batman movies. Yeah. I think we've marathoned the Ocean's movies.
Oh, yeah.
And now with the advent of Netflix, the first thing I binge watched on there was House of Cards.
Exactly. And that was like their first big deal show to be on.
And if you consider the nature of television shows, like the reason why Lost, me and my brother were pulled in the way we were, and same with 24, was they're designed to bring you back for more.
Exactly. That's the whole basis of TV.
So the movies, the movies that people will binge watch are often the ones that are continuing story.
Exactly.
Because you want to, what's going to happen to these characters next?
Yeah.
But with TV shows, it's even more because you get like 42 minutes or 44 minutes or whatever of the show, and it'll always end with like a showdown, or it'll end with a dramatic look, or a reveal, or a cliffhanger. And how are you not supposed to just put the next one on?
But the thing that Netflix has down is that timer.
Yeah.
15 seconds, you're like, it's starting.
I wonder how they chose 15 seconds.
I know.
They had to have like studied it.
Yeah.
Because their like statistics are crazy that they have. Like I wonder if they experimented with like 30 seconds, or experimented with just a button, or experimented with less time.
Yeah.
Because it's the perfect amount of time for you to like readjust, to look at the person you're sitting with and be like, we doing this?
Yeah.
It's like the perfect amount of time for you to look at your phone. What time is it? Oh, we're going again. I don't care. It's 3 a.m. It's the perfect amount of time to pull you into it. Because what are all the shows you've binge watched?
Oh,
because
boy.
Aren't there a lot?
Oh boy, I'd say over 15.
I binge watched House of Cards every season that's come out. I've watched it in a day.
Every Marvel series except Luke Cage, so Jessica Jones, Daredevil. Both.
You binged all those too. Wow.
Yeah.
I binged Kimmy Schmidt, both seasons.
I binged the OA. I binged The Night Manager. I binged The
Night Manager.
Stranger Things.
I binge watched. I binge watched. How to Make a Murderer.
Oh, How to Get Away with Murder?
No.
Oh, Making of a Murderer?
Making of a Murderer.
I binge watched How to Get Away with Murder. Guys, there's just... and I know everyone listening is like me too. Because there is just a pulp culture phenomenon right now to do it.
Because you can't get away from it.
I said that is the biggest reason I binge watch.
Yeah.
Again with the what was I saying? No.
It's gone. It's over.
Oh, what was I just saying?
There it went.
Oh no.
The addictive nature.
Again with the cliffhangers at the end.
Yes.
But the reason I binge watch is I don't want to miss out on the talking of it.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
That is the biggest thing for me.
Is television used to have these pauses where you could have water cooler conversations.
Yeah.
Where the next day at school or at work or with your family, you could talk about, did you see last night's episode? Oh my gosh. And HBO still has that with Game of Thrones, with even Westworld most recently. In that article too, they even say, would Westworld have been the phenomenon it was if we didn't have a week between episodes to theorize about every little bit in detail?
Yeah.
Now, you don't have a pause. So if you don't watch it in the from the moment it's released until the end, someone might spoil something. So you're gonna see a meme about the ending of the series.
Exactly.
So
that's the biggest thing.
You feel like you have to watch it all.
Oh, that's the biggest thing. Like with Stranger Things, I knew as soon as I watched the first episode, I was like, this is gonna be a phenomenon. People are gonna love this. I don't want to be searching and figure out what happened to 11 or and there's just so much spoilers out there, especially with social media.
Oh yes.
That I'm like, I need to sit and lock myself in a room and watch it all.
Yeah. I've definitely given up on entire days where I was supposed to work.
Oh yeah.
On Netflix.
Yeah. I said I have watched House of Cards 4 days in my life. And that's it. Solid. And that was 4 seasons. But technically in my whole life I've only sat down and watched that show in 4 days. Like 4 to 6 days.
Yeah.
Because I usually watch the whole season in a day.
That's what I do. Like last year, it came out around my birthday, and I asked Tams, I'm like, for my birthday, I want to watch the whole season of House of Cards.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want. I want to have, like, a pass.
Yeah.
So don't do anything but
junk
watch
food,
just
that's
House
there,
of Cards.
and a House of Cards.
Coca-Cola, Doritos, bold barbecue chips.
Oh! I love watching things.
I was thinking about this because you and I we shot a little video together this past week.
Yeah.
And when I put it together, just like a rough cut, I'm like, it's magic.
Oh.
We're like, this was shot over like a few hours, but here it is 1 minute long, and it feels like 1 minute.
Yeah.
It feels like we're watching, and it's like magic. So there's an addictive nature to it as it exists.
Yeah.
There's a desire to not want to miss out on the social conversation. But there's another thing to it that I think maybe we don't think about, and what I think Joss Whedon is getting at is we're missing that pause.
Yes.
We're missing that moment where we go, what was that all about?
Exactly.
What does this mean? Because we've talked about it before. The anticipation to a movie can sometimes be more exciting than the movie itself. Oh,
completely. And I, to be honest, when I read the article that with him explaining it, I completely agreed.
Yeah.
I'm like, there was never a moment during, like, I'll use House of Cards for an example, because that's one that we both binge watched. There was never a moment, I think, that, like, we ever had serious discussions about what was happening. We just discussed what happened in the series. Yeah. In the season.
That's so true.
It was never like...
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
There wasn't an episode, just like, Westworld, we would talk about it every week. Yeah. And I think that's what's really... But that's what's really... I understand his thing about taking a breath.
Yeah.
There are only select few episodes I can, like, pinpoint in House of Cards. The rest is just a huge movie.
And what's interesting is there are certain shows that I've tried to binge watch on Netflix that weren't made for Netflix, that aren't as easy to binge watch because they were made with the anticipation that the audience would wait a week.
Yes.
Or then between seasons, you would wait sometimes a year. Mm-hmm. So shows like Mad Men, which I still would like try and like push through, but I'd get to 2 or 3 episodes and I'd have to take a break because it was so dense.
Yeah.
I found with shows like House of Cards, each episode does not contain as much thematically on its own as those other shows had previously.
And that was the problem I had with The Sopranos, because I approached The Sopranos with a binge watching mentality. I'm gonna get through a season in a day. I'd watch one and I'd be like, I can't watch people yelling for another 2 hours.
It's the difference between eating like popcorn and eating steak. You just
but as soon as I got down to a rhythm where I'm like, wait, if I watch one every couple days, then I can start thinking about these characters, and then I want to watch it, rather than being it's hilarious. Being
forced to. Well, it's so true.
It's so funny. Like, Series of Unfortunate Events, it's not good. It's not. But I love the books. And Jess and I were like, well, we have to watch it. We have to watch the next one. We have to watch this whole season.
Yeah.
And that's the thing Netflix does to you, even when I think some of their stuff isn't as good as the other stuff.
But it's designed to be like addictive.
Oh, it is.
It's kind of like with all the money that McDonald's has.
Yeah.
They could with their time and their research and their flavor experts and all of these things and all their money and power and influence, they could make the perfect, most delicious thing in the world.
Yeah.
But it's too expensive, or it's not practical. So they got to try and just dish them out as quickly and as many as they can. So we're just fine eating McNuggets and these fries or whatever. They're not the best. They're not the best things to eat. But you can just keep eating them. They're light or whatever. They're easy. But some things you have to savor. You have to take time with it. Like when I think about TV shows like Mad Men. Mad Men is, I think, the perfect example, because each episode had its own theme, had its own purpose, and had its own focus. So when you watch an episode of Mad Men, by the end of it, you're like, oh, what was like the moon landing? What kind of effect did that have on everybody's thinking? Mm-hmm. You can't just jump to the next episode, which is then all of a sudden about gang violence or is about something else. So I just find that I've been comparing food and movies so much recently.
I think a big thing is, too, breaks in between seasons.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
That's a big one, because you do need to take that time to let what just happened to the season sink in, and that's all the fun preparing you for what's to come. I couldn't imagine never watching Lost and just season 1 ends with them peering down that hatch, and then 30 seconds later knowing what happens.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been the same.
That takes something away from it. The reason I enjoyed Westworld so much this year, and why I'm a huge fan of Game of Thrones, is those are honestly the only 2 shows that still have that same aspect of what's going to happen next week. And I do miss some of that. I don't miss commercials.
Not at all.
Remember the 6th season of Lost? How many commercials it felt like there were?
Commercials, man.
I don't miss commercials, but I do miss the conversation started. So what I think is a great thing that Netflix is doing with one of their biggest shows right now, Riverdale. They release 1 episode a week. And so you'll be able to binge watch once the season's over, as you can with any show on TV. But I'm finding, and it's so interesting, I'm finding in all of my social circles, that's the only show that people are constantly talking about.
Because there's room to talk.
Yeah, whereas Stranger Things was a great conversation for a week, but then everyone was done.
That's a really good point.
But Riverdale, after every episode, I, like, on my message thread with some of my friends, I always are bringing up, like, did you see the episode, and stuff like that. So,
it's kind of interesting, because I think people who have 9-to-5 jobs.
Yeah.
Having that time to wait, they need it because they can't binge the same way.
Exactly.
Whereas then you have people who they were in college or in high school today, the younger crowd, they just have so much more time to just eat stuff up.
Yeah.
Or people on irregular schedules like us also have time to eat that sort of stuff up. But I have found for myself, if I find it's just an addictive nature, addictive personality, that if I start watching a show, I have to finish it.
Yeah.
So recently, I have enjoyed way more the waiting each week.
Yeah.
Like, I watched that series Taboo, the Tom Hardy one. So I finished that first season. And though I think it had its problems, I enjoyed it way more because I had to wait each week to see what happened next. Westworld was the same thing. I'm looking forward to Game of Thrones for the same reason. Whereas now, when I think it's starting to develop fatigue because, maybe just for me personally, because I saw that The Get Down, which I was a big fan of the first half of that first season. When I saw it was coming out, I was like, oh boy.
There's a day.
Oh boy. Like Orange is the New Black new season. Or like House of Cards new season.
That's another one I've watched. Yeah.
It's like, oh no. Like, I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I got it in me anymore.
Well, to be honest, when I watched Stranger Things in a day.
Yeah.
I did.
I did
the
too.
whole thing in a day. And I liked it, but I wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. But I went back, Jess decided to watch it, so I went back and watched episodes, but on a more regular schedule. Like, I'd watch one and then wait a few days and watch the other. And it was so much better.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I got to actually take time after the first episode to think about it and think about the characters and be like, I knew what was going to happen, but I kind of forgot some parts, so I was thinking like, and hearing Jess go, I wonder what's going to happen with this, and da-da-da-da-da. And I totally see his points on the binge watching. Now, that being said, while Netflix does pump out some not so great stuff, I think they pump out some of the best TV.
For sure. And I don't think it's their fault that they release it all at once. I think that's clever.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the way to do it for their model, but it's just up to us viewers to think, what's the best way to digest this? If
you're looking for a really interesting talk, I think it's Awards Chatter, or it might have been the Hollywood Reporters podcast a while ago. They had a conversation with the showrunner of House of Cards.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name again?
I can't remember.
I know. Showrunner of House of Cards. I'll grab it. But
it is worth a listen because he described what their initial reaction was to the idea of releasing all of House of Cards at once. And they weren't too excited about the idea because they thought it was like, well, we're going straight to DVD? And the mentality hadn't changed yet. You got his name? You're the one with the point here. We're creating suspense, people.
Bo
Willimon is the showrunner, but that's not the guy that they were interviewing.
Yes, it was.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it was. 100%. Bo Willimon.
I think it was the producer.
No, it was Bo Willimon. It was the showrunner.
I don't think so.
Dude, I know it was. Because they said on it that he was leaving. Yeah. It's Bo Willimon. I know for sure, man.
Well, I guess I've heard another podcast about it too. I think it's something that a lot of people are talking about. But
the Bo Willimon thing, House of Cards was the very first show that Netflix was like, we're going to release it all at once.
Yeah.
And it's going to be an original thing like that. And just so interesting with him and Kevin Spacey talking about it and deliberating about the effects of that. And they never knew that they were making a huge history there.
Yeah.
It changed everything. Because now, like, I don't know viewership on TV, but I'm sure they're struggling. ABC, NBC. Well, look at all those places.
Because it's pulled people away.
Yeah.
Like, if you just consider you and I will never get a cable subscription.
No, too expensive.
We'll never pay for cable. So they've already lost the entire next generation to Netflix.
And you have these people trying to compete. Yeah, Hulu, Amazon Prime. Show Me when it stopped. It failed. So you have all these different places. I didn't know Hulu is owned by Disney.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah.
They're big.
And
ABC.
they are going to have a lot of great things. Disney. Even though Disney seems to have a partnership with Netflix because all their new releases, Finding Dory when it came out on DVD was released on Netflix.
I think they'll do it for a little while, but then if Hulu has legs, then they'd probably make Hulu the Disney exclusive.
Yeah. But what do you think? Do you enjoy binge watching? Do you find it takes away? Because I personally think it does in some regard.
It's kind of like...
But I'm not going to stop.
It's kind of like hanging out with your best friend.
Yeah.
You have those... When you're kids, you could spend a whole summer together.
Yeah.
And then it gets to that point where it's like... It becomes more special to hang out with that person.
What are you trying to say?
If it's just like...
What I'm saying is you got to get off our couch and find yourself an apartment. Nah. No, it is true. There were times Jake and I used to actually spend all. This was before
Entire
girls
summers.
were even like in our lives.
In any real way.
Yeah, so now
Entire summers.
like entire summers.
It would be like a week there, a week here.
And my parents wouldn't know where I was, and they'd call me and they'd be like, "Are you still at the Pierce house?" I'm like, "Yep." Or I'd call my mom and be like, "Come get me."
Come get me.
Me and Jake are mad at each other. See you tomorrow, Jake.
What were some of the real fights we had? Did we ever have any like
One that
real
I really
disagreements?
remember is we were on a couch.
Oh.
And you were sitting here, and you hit me by like placing something or something because we were like grumpy, like typical kids, because we're staying up till 4 a.m.
Watching movies, junk.
eating awful food.
Yeah.
Like you hit me, and I remember going like this, and I hit you on the face, and you like punched me, and that was the closest we ever got to like a physical confrontation because then we put on a movie.
Probably.
I remember that.
Probably the time that I don't remember that at all. By the way,
Oh really?
you must have hit me really hard.
Yeah.
But like the time
I actually don't remember.
the time
much
I
of it.
remember was when The Dark Knight was coming out, and we were obsessed with the Joker, and so obsessed that one night you and I put on Joker
Oh, that
makeup
was-
and we're walking around outside my house,
Yeah.
being just weird. Just like fooling around, and then one time we had this marker, this orange marker.
But we didn't fight.
Well,
That was us
but this
against-
is what happened. Was we had that orange marker,
Yeah.
and I put it on my face, like you put the thing, and
We're
then
so
you put it on
weird.
your face, and we were like, Kai, put it on your face.
Yeah.
And he was like, no. We were like, Kai,
Put it on. We
put
did.
it on your face. He's like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm like, do it! And then it was so bad that we ended up locking him in my brother's bedroom, and we wouldn't let him leave until we
drew
put it
it
on. I don't know how long we were in there for, but
This
it
is
got to a
no
point.
drugs are involved in this story.
Never. It's always just pure chaos and
Yeah.
crazy. It got to the point where we were like, we're gonna physically put this on him. So, but he's a bigger guy, so it took the
Yeah.
two of us. So we like try and like get at him, and I'm trying to get it to his face. What?
I think that was the only time that our age barrier showed.
Because he was a
Like,
little
what do you
older than
think
us
about
when
it?
we'd hang out.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So we were trying to get it on him. He grabbed my hand with the marker in my hand, and he crushed the marker. And the ink started running down my hand, and it sprayed on the wall of my brother's room. And it's probably still there with this new family that's moved into my old house. And we all went quiet. Kai just left, got on the bus. You probably called your mom. None of us hung out for like a week. Same thing happened to us when we played Rock Band.
Yeah. Remember me grabbing the stool?
We were binging Rock Band.
Yeah.
And we played for like 9 hours straight.
It is just an addictive thing, right?
is.
Like once you start, like I haven't played video games in a while, but I
it's
know
bad,
when I
man.
used to play video games.
I played Skyrim over this last year, and oh boy.
Like I can just imagine the hours Nate is putting in on Zelda right now.
You can only imagine.
You can only imagine.
So yeah, binging, it's like anything, I guess, that you can become addicted to a degree. Mm-hmm. It's just that now it's like everybody, our age especially.
Like it's so addicting. Like I could never say, well, I know I'll enjoy the new season of House of Cards if I take my time with it.
But I'm not gonna.
But I'm not gonna because you know what it also is? I know Jake isn't going to. So I can't have him going, dude, just you wait. Just you wait.
Dude.
Because you can't.
Episode 8, man. Yeah, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Speaking of having better experiences,
Yeah.
I find I love movies way more than TV shows. I just do.
It's a give and take for me.
I do so much more. I like movies.
It all depends.
And I know that because when I think of the experiences I've had with movies, they're not nearly as good. Or movies are way better. than
What are you
my
trying to say
experiences
here?
with TV shows.
See, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes
What
and
TV
no.
show has been as good as
Okay,
seeing
well-
the Dark Knight?
Dude, man, there's.
Well,
Well,
talk
come
about
on, The Dark Knight. Yeah. But like, I can name a lot of TV shows that I've had a lot more fun watching than Kong.
Well, sure.
Yeah, but when you're comparing,
I'm saying
like,
the best of the best.
Oh, the best of
the
the
best of either. I find movies I enjoy way more, especially in the theater. So we want to talk about what our best and most interesting and emotional and funny movie theater experiences are. So.
Oh, is it just movie? You said movie and TV.
Okay, we'll do both then, I guess.
Okay.
I did just movies.
Okay, I did movie and TV.
But we're talking about the hardest laugh, the most emotional, and the biggest surprise.
Okay, so let's start with hardest laugh.
All right, so hardest laugh for me in a movie theater was I walked into the theater and I just got hit with a plume of weed smoke.
Marijuana.
Just like boom, they had hotboxed this entire theater, and I sat down to watch This Is the End. And there's a scene between James Franco and what's his name?
What one?
Danny.
Oh, Danny McBride.
Danny McBride. There's a scene between the two of them where they're talking about masturbating and jerking off, and they like argue, and it's the funniest thing I have ever seen in a movie theater. I was dying laughing,
and I bet the whole crowd was too.
That's the thing, is you're laughing with such a large group of people that I was crying laughing, like my throat was hurting. I was laughing so hard. And maybe second place was when we went to go see Spider-Man 3.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of Spider-Man 3, in a theater that was so packed that people were sitting in each other's laps and sitting on the chairs or on the stairs because it was such like a big anticipated movie. At the end of the movie, it's supposed to be this like dramatic moment, if you remember, and it goes dark. And in this pitch black movie theater, we hear someone near the back go, pretending to throw up, and everybody laughed so hard.
And we laughed really hard when Peter said peenies.
Peenies.
Because we were...
Peenies.
And we all started laughing. That was just the worst, because we were all trying to be like, this is great, right?
This is going to be really
amazing,
good.
Right?
So it's going to be amazing.
Even back then, we knew.
That was my hardest laugh.
Hardest laugh, I have two. Daryl and I saw Anchorman, and when Ron Burgundy has the teleprompter and he says, "Go F yourself, San Francisco," and doesn't even catch himself saying it. He's like, "That was a great one." I don't know if I've ever laughed harder than that little moment of a movie. That whole movie in general, I think, is the funniest movie ever made.
So good.
And then another one that really made me laugh hard in the theater too. Maybe it was because of the group of guys I was seeing it with, but I Love You Man. Have you ever seen that movie? It's Paul Rudd and Jason Segel.
Oh, yeah.
And there's the slapping the bass part.
Slapping the bass.
The first time I saw it, slapping the bass, that whole scene.
Much. All the time. You were like, slapping the bass.
Slapping the bass, man. I'm slapping the bass. I laughed really hard. So that was like my second. Those two, Anchorman, geez, so funny.
For me, most emotional, funny enough, they both came this year. I think when I was younger, I didn't allow myself to get as emotional in movie theaters. So maybe there would have been movies that would have been more emotional.
Yeah.
But this year, I have been the most emotional with movies. And two, for sort of different reasons. One hand, a movie that made me cry and like really affected me emotionally was Manchester by the Sea. I just don't remember a movie that was just, I felt so vulnerable in that movie when I saw the stories unfolding. But then another movie where the emotions were just so heavy that it just sort of dropped me was Silence, which I saw 3 times in theaters.
And each time you're like,
each time I was
water.
Well, each time I was just like, oh my gosh, like I've been through something.
Yeah.
And I think that like I don't have that experience the same way at home or with the TV show as you do in a big screen like that, especially at that theater Varsity where you're not distracted by people around you. Everyone's quite respectful of the movie you're seeing, but those were the most emotional for me, I think.
For me, there's one that'll always be the most emotional for me. I think if we were this age when Lord of the Rings came out, it would have packed a lot bigger punch. The reason, like, for me now, that movie is so emotional, but when we saw it, we were kids, and I wet myself while watching it. So that's a
good story.
But emotional, Toy Story 3. Just because it came out, so I saw it. I think I've said it on the podcast when we were talking about our favorite
Pixar, I think,
movie experiences or something. But I saw it with 5 of my guy friends from high school, and it just so happened to be coming out at that time when we were going to be leaving and stuff like that, and you could just feel the group of us start like crying without wanting to cry, but it's just, it really layers that on, especially with Andy saying goodbye to the toys, and I had suddenly a realization like, oh my gosh, I'm growing up and I'm leaving. There are moments of that movie I'm like, I don't know if I can get through this. I also said, when I was emotional, I don't know if I ever told you.
I don't know.
Before when I was in the car with Jess before seeing The Force Awakens, we parked the car, and Jess was like, "What's wrong?" Because I looked at, and then I looked at her, and I started to cry.
I didn't know this.
I started to cry. Well, I wasn't gonna go into the movie and be like, "I just bawled my ass out." And Jess was like, "What's wrong?" And because you know what, I forgot about it until I started thinking about it. Jess was like, "What's wrong?" And I said, "The kid you not," through the tears, I said, "I don't think I've been this excited in so long." I'm like, I have never. I'm like, this is happening.
There you go. The anticipation for something.
I was like, this is actually happening. Jake and I are seeing Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, and Mark Hamill in a new Star Wars movie that we don't know what's going to happen. Oh, that was great. Anyways.
You're making me think of other ones that I've forgotten about. Like, I forgot about Up.
I know.
When we first saw Up.
Yeah.
Woo! Like, oh, that one was a big one, too.
Yeah.
I remember when we went to go see... We saw in 3D the re-release marathon of Toy Story 1 and 2. Yeah. That was super emotional, because Toy Story 2 is my favorite. Oh, when she's singing When Somebody Loved You, or Somebody Loved Me. Oh, yo. Yeah.
Even, like WALL-E tugged on my heartstrings. Even, like, when we were younger and stuff. Yeah.
You know what didn't tug on my heartstrings? Inside Out. What were you going to say?
Good Dinosaur.
The Good Dinosaur.
The worst.
Yeah, terrible.
Awful.
Terrible.
Even, Finding Dory.
Super lame.
Okay. Biggest surprise ever.
By far.
I have a few options.
By far, like, because there are some movies I go in, I'm like, this is going to be amazing, I cannot wait, and it is. Because I know the director, and then there's some you go in, and it's a big surprise because it was terrible. Like Spider-Man 3.
Did you pick That's a big surprise as in, like, I wasn't expecting it to be good?
That's what I went for.
Okay, I might think of it in a movie. Shock factor.
Well, that's good. Okay, we'll end with you, because for me, the biggest surprise going in with, like, almost, I don't know, kind of expectations to it now being one of my favorite movies ever was Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah.
I had seen bits and pieces of the original Mad Max movies, so I had nothing. I was like, the guy directed Happy Feet 1 and 2, and Babe, Pig in the City.
And I had never seen Mad Max before.
And when I came out of that theater just, like, revved up, just, like, literally, like, oh my gosh! Like, what did I just see? I gotta see it again. I saw that movie 3 times. I was so surprised.
And same with me. That day, I had hardly watched any trailers for Mad Max. That day, Max was like, I'm going to go see it. And we can only make the 10:40 something show.
Right.
So I remember working all day being like, oh, I don't want to go. Okay. I got to the theater, like sat down. I got there late, so the lights are already down. I get there, and then
it just starts.
I think like an hour into the movie, like we all looked at each other like,
what are we watching?
What are we seeing? This is amazing. Anyways.
But you have, like, individual moments of shock in a movie. That's what you got?
I have the biggest shock of all time ever in a media format. Okay? Movie or TV. Like, the biggest shock I've ever...
Donald Trump becoming president.
No, the end of The Apprentice Season 3 when Omarosa was fired. No. The biggest shock of my life ever was the reveal of Henry Gale on Lost. Yeah! The most visceral was Henry Gale.
Oh!
The two moments, okay? Lost. That and the opening of Season 3.
Oh, yeah.
When it was the others. And it went out. That was the shock, most shocked I think I've ever been.
People don't realize how invested you were in that show.
No.
And you
I don't think I even realized.
So invested that it was like a black hole, that it was like pulling all your friends being more interested in the show.
Oh, it was like a drug. I was like, have you tried Lost? Have you tried Lost?
You got any
Seriously.
more? Have you rewatched it?
Everyone, it was like,
to the website?
I started, and then the circle and then they told their friends, and then I'm the reason for Lost's success.
Probably, in part.
In Newmarket,
certainly.
Ontario. I also said, you haven't seen it, for anyone who's seen it, the last 10 minutes of the Jinx on TV, I don't think I've ever had that much visceral reaction to something.
Really?
Like, because it's real.
Yeah.
So that was like different.
See, I have trouble with that, man.
And then another shocking moment in a movie that I will never forget is the Joker pencil.
Yeah. That first scene with him.
Because I think a theater has not collectively. You could feel everyone just like we have just witnessed something.
We all actually looked at each other like,
like afterwards. And there was a climax. Amazing.
That was special.
That's my favorite movie experience.
Dude, I'm telling you, movies are way better than TV.
I do think as a format, yes. I do think there are moments in TV shows that I think are on par with moments that have affected me during movies. But as an all around thing, Lost from beginning to end is not perfect. Breaking Bad beginning to end is not perfect. Westworld is not perfect.
But The Godfather.
But The Godfather is perfect. So, yeah. And even The Sopranos, held as the most perfect, it's not perfect.
Yeah.
There's too much
time.
It's too much time. That's why I think Breaking Bad is probably the closest you could get to perfection, just because they did have an end point in line.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Anyways, what are we recommending to binge this week?
I wanted to pick a healthy choice.
Binge or not to binge?
I wanted people to binge on what would be the equivalent of an avocado.
Oh.
And I think one of the coolest things to binge watch are documentaries. And I think one of the best series of documentaries ever made that's interesting, you feel good about yourself after you watch it, you feel like you love the world more, is the Planet Earth series. And it's on Netflix.
It's beautiful.
It's like, without even going
I watch it when I go to bed.
Like, without it, you would put, I can put some people to sleep. Because it's so relaxing and calm. But like, without getting into the brilliance of how they made that show.
There's a new one.
Yes. Which is why I'm also bringing it up. Because you can go get that right now. You can go watch that right now. Through certain avenues that I would or would not encourage you to look into.
Keep going!
It's so wonderful. You feel so good.
Yeah.
You feel like the planet is this incredible, amazing place. And I think, what else can you ask for out of a binge-watching experience?
Well, here's what you can ask for. Mine, on the other hand, isn't going to make you feel good.
No, it's not.
You're going to make you feel kind of sick.
This is unusual.
And
it's a weird change of pace.
And and unlike an avocado, this is more like, let's say you're at an Asian restaurant and you order something on the menu that you're not sure what it is, and it comes and you're looking at it and you're like, what is this? And then you start to eat it and you're like, I've never tasted this before. And then you kind of, at the end, you're like, that was a great experience. The OA. I'm not kidding. Put
that on the back of the DVD.
The OA.
You ever gone to an Asian restaurant, ordered something?
The reason I chose the OA is it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
It's not for everyone.
So it's Planet Earth?
It's not for everyone. Get through the first 2 episodes, and if you're not feeling it, then it's not for you, because it's a very specific type of show. I've never seen a show like it.
Really?
It's so weird.
Wow.
But it's
I know I'm going to get to it, but I genuinely have felt and I don't feel this often, but I've felt an anxiety about being like, if I start another show,
I know. Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to get out.
Yeah.
Because
you know what's coming, though?
You can't get out.
Fargo.
I know.
Fargo.
But that's going to be FX, so it's going to be week by week.
I know. That's what I'm excited for.
Because there's a show
FX
I binge watched.
rocks.
Dude, I binge watched season 1 and 2 of Fargo in the same day. No joke. I watched it in the same day. I was like, next.
Yeah.
I was freaking out, man.
Dude.
Fargo
the second
season 2
is actually a perfect season.
That's the best season of television I've ever seen ever.
Yeah.
It's the best I've ever seen.
I kind of want to rewatch it. Maybe I will. Before the new season. I was also going to recommend The Leftovers, but that isn't on Netflix. But just that and the OA are similar in a way where I've never seen something like it in a TV show. So
I do appreciate that always about any kind of media. If it's something you've just never seen before, it's just cool.
Tell us what you've been watching.
Below. Tell us what we should watch. Below. Like,
and watch movies. Subscribe.
Yeah.
If you like these movie videos, even if you don't have a YouTube account, get one and subscribe. One. Just for us.
Please.
And if you do, and you email us, we will do a shout out.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll send all kinds of love.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.
It's supposed to be a big snowstorm tonight.
I know. You can feel it.
It has begun.
Winter is coming.
Winter is coming. Game of Thrones, man.
Did you see the trailer?
Well, trailer. audio clips from previous seasons highlighting sections of the show that
Dude,
you wished
man.
were the only parts of the show.
13
Did Arya
more
Stark
episodes.
speak during that
13
trailer?
more episodes.
Is it that much? I
Yes.
thought it was less.
7 this summer.
There's
and
2 more seasons.
6 next
I
summer.
thought this was already the final season.
No.
Oh boy. Dude.
It's going to
Talk
be...
about a real cultural
it is going to be
phenomenon.
a massive.
They're going to go out with such a bang.
It's a what was I reading? On Slash Film, they said it's not so much a TV show as a cultural event.
Yeah.
And if you're not a part of it, you miss out.
Yeah.
That's why I've been trying to get Jess into it, but it's hard.
It's really
It's a hard show to
difficult.
binge or
For sure. Because it's that HBO sort of thing. It was designed to be week by week. Because you get exhausted binging it.
Mm-hmm.
I binged season 1, and I was exhausted by the end of it. I didn't touch season 2 for a long time.
So funny. I remember watching with Josh. Josh just started like last year, and I remember being there and we were watching season 1, episode 9 at the beginning.
And
he's like, Ned is the best character ever. Like, Ned's the best. He's gonna be king. And me and Daryl are like, well,
Let's
just you
hope
wait
so.
for the end of this episode.
We all thought that.
What's cool about Game of Thrones too is I just like that. It's the only thing, TV show I've watched where no one's safe. I don't feel except maybe Daenerys.
Jon Snow. They broke their own rule.
Yeah, with
That frustrated me. I didn't like that.
Yeah, it didn't frustrate me because I liked it. I liked
when he died at the. But the thing is when he died at the end of the season, did anyone think he was dead? No one.
There were
we
some
all
parts where I
knew that
hesitated.
she was gonna resurrect him.
I
So
think-
because of that, I was like, oh well, there goes the cliffhanger of the season.
I think by the end of the series he'll die. I think he'll actually die.
Everyone is gonna die. It's gonna end with just an ash heap, just a burnt, destroyed.
And then
world.
Hodor
Hodor.
will come out and say,
Hodor. And then Hodor the series.
I think there should be a comedy series called Hodor, and it's him,
just his hijinks, just his
and
silly
it's just
adventures.
him, and the only you wouldn't
No
really,
dialogue.
no dialogue, just Hodor. Yeah.
Hodor.
Hodor.
Boom, boom, boom. It'd be like Hodor goes to the fruit market. And he'd go up to the fruit vendor and be like, Hodor? They're like, watermelon? Hodor. Oranges?
Yeah.
Hodor.
And then it'll get
Apples?
canceled after this. We should do a special on the podcast called
Thanks for watching Movi.